So good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another video of the Shield Dude on a couch. Today, I was almost going to say interview. Today, we are talking about an album that's turning 30 on June 7 this year. So it's Stone Temple Pilots and Purple. And as you can see, I have it on vinyl. Yeah. I have
I've
to
seen
say,
it.
for
Yeah.
people that for all you vinyl junkies, and I have the Walmart version, okay? People are gonna be like, "Ah, that's the Walmart version, you fucking poser." Like whatever. It's a great. It came out, I think, in 2019. That's the remastered version. So we're here to talk about the album. So I'm joined by for the second time on the channel, we have Yogi. So for those of you that don't know Yogi, he's played bass in Puerto Rican metal bands, and he also, it's a music enthusiast. So Yogi, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah. And we have, I think, I don't know how many videos I made with JC. I've lost count. So we have JC again joining us to talk about this album. So we're gonna talk about, like first of all, like what our thoughts when we listened to this when it came out, because I think everyone listened to this when it came out. Then we can pick like our favorite tracks and also deep cuts. And at the end, we can say if it has held up 30 years later, what we think about it, and like maybe what the album has meant to us for the years. So let's start today. Let's start with Yogi. So Yogi, like, what was your, when you first listened to this album, your impressions?
I didn't listen to it until I was probably 15 years old. It was for probably 4 years later than the release date.
Did you say
And
40 or 4?
huh?
Did you say 40 or 4?
No. I said four.
Ah,
I was like 15 years old when I first got to listen to that album, and I listened to it actually on cassette tape. I bought it for a friend. I bought it from a friend for $2 back
oh,
in the day.
wow.
And yeah, I mean, one of my favorite, the one the track that really got me into it is probably Interstate Love Song. And that with that song, like it hooked me up, and I got hooked with that album like for years.
Yeah. Was this your introduction to Stone Temple Pilots?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So Yogi listened to it a few years after it came out. It's the introduction to a band. So what about you, JC? Because I think we already talked about Core. I think like a year ago, and we know that we started with the first album. So what was your like initial, like when you listened to it way back in 1994?
Okay. Yeah, I was a big fan. I've been a fan of this band since Core, so I was really anticipating it. So I remember they released the single "Big Empty," and they released that like a few weeks before this came out, and that was on the soundtrack for the Crow, and that's a great.
The Crow that matters.
All
Not
right.
the new shit that's coming out now. The original Crow, Brandon Lee Crow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean but that was a great soundtrack, and I'm kind of like upset because I kind of forgot about it. I missed the anniversary, but I'll probably do like a video on it later at some point
Oh yeah,
because it
I missed
had
that
like The
too.
Cure, Pantera, had all this great songs. So Big Empty came out first, and then they released their first official single, which was Vaseline. And I was kind of surprised because I always thought that was kind of like a heavy song, like that, like that was a great song. And then the second single, Interstate Love Song, was a little more laid back. So I really like that one a lot as well. That one I used to kind of like play on the guitar a lot. But this was I listened to it all the time. And I actually went back to this recently because I was telling you that I was like preparing another video on my channel. which is going to be on my channel, which is going to be more of like a history video. This is more
Yeah.
like this video right here is more like free flowing, just conversation. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just a great album. I've listened to it a lot over the years, so I really love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so people watch JC video because you're gonna know like what Scott's I was gonna say Scott Stapp, what Scott Weiland had for lunch while recording some of the tracks and stuff like that. So for
Yeah.
me, I did listen to this when it came out. Uh, I was a big fan with Core. So this album, they worked with Brendan O'Brien, which recently I saw the interview that he did for the Rick Beato, and he talked about a few tracks from this album. And you know, like if you have Brendan O'Brien in the 90s on your records, like he made a lot of great records. And this was one of them. So for me, this album, even though I like Core, I remember a lot of people compared Stone Temple Pilots when it came out to Pearl Jam. Like, and I don't know why, because to me they sounded totally different. Like Eddie Vedder's voice and Scott Weiland's voice sounded totally different. But I remember they got that comparison, and I think with the sophomore record, they broke that comparison because this album is more psychedelic at times. They experimented with their sound, and I think, to me, even though I like Core, I think Purple to me is when Stone Temple Pilots, you know, like got more respect as a band. I was reading some of the reviews, and surprise and behold, Rolling Stone gave it 3 out of 5. But mostly all of the reviews that I saw that I was reading were positive, except this. There was only one that I saw that I don't even know who it is. Select gave it 2 out of 5, and I'm like, what the hell did they listen to? But years later, this album is in a lot of like top 500 rock albums of all time. So it's an album that has gotten a lot of respect through the years. So I loved it when it came out. I bought it on CD. And I remember me and my cousin used to play this when it came out all the time. The first time that I listened to Big Empty was they played it first on the MTV Unplugged. They had an MTV Unplugged, and they premiered Big Empty on the MTV Unplugged. Scott Weiland was in a rocking chair. And after that, yeah, I remember it was on the Crow soundtrack. But yeah, I remember like JC, when I listened to Vasoline, I really like it because it like that it's kind of like hypnotic. And also, you know, Scott Weiland as a front man, I think sometimes he's one of the best frontmans from, in my opinion, from the 90s and like ever. He was like I don't know, he had like a mixture of like, he reminded me of like he had like something like a David Bowie presence to him, especially in the way that he danced and he sang. So yeah, those were my impressions back when I did listen to it when it came out, and obviously I bought it on CD, and I bought it on vinyl a few years ago. So now let's talk about like favorite tracks that we love. Obviously deep cuts, because I think there's a few cool deep cuts on this record. So Yogi, what tracks do you love, man?
I think it's one of the Interstate Love Song. It's one of my favorites. Big Empty, of course. Superman. What's the name of the song? I forgot the name. That's
I have the titles here.
Yeah, Superman. Oh God, then.
Yeah, it's
Silver Gun Superman.
Yeah, I love that track as well. And one of the tracks that actually it's surprisingly good. It's like kitchenware and candy bars. It's a nice end. It's like a nice end for that album.
If you don't count the hidden track.
The hidden track.
Yeah, after that was hidden track.
I like that hidden track. Yeah.
Well, our second album, 12 gracious melodies to listen. Because you know, in the 90s you had to have that hidden track, and that was it was super funny, that hidden track. So yeah, and I have a question for you, Yogi, being like a bass player. Like, like what what are your thoughts on Robert DeLeo as a bass
Robert
player?
Limo is a genius. I mean, it's one of the highlights of this album is it's Robert's playing. You know, it's so flowing. If you listen to it, he never stops. He keeps on like he's like harmonizing. He's setting it, setting the you know the toms and that low end in the song as well, but in a beautiful display. I mean, he keeps on playing with these notes, and that's one of the things that I really love about Robert's playing. And this album Purple really highlights his skills with the bass.
Yeah, I remember I also saw an interview that he did with Rick Beato, and like, yeah, he's supremely talented, and sometimes a lot of people don't give him enough props from
Yeah,
what a great bass player he was, and he was like very jazz influenced as well. So yeah,
he flows over between and and with it's he's everywhere in the song. If you notice the bass playing, and Robert's like yeah, it's uncanny. It's uncanny.
yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you, since you are a bass player, like what are you thought of his bass playing? Because I know, yeah, it's really great. So yeah, so those are the tracks that you love. What about you, JC? Which tracks you love from this record?
Okay, I'm gonna pick Pretty Penny. Even though there was a like a promo single, but it wasn't really like a very popular song. But it's one of their acoustic songs. So I just really like it. It's like this like a folk rock song. I think it reminds me a lot of like the Beatles, Norwegian Wood. Like that's the vibe I get from it. So I really like that. But like they do good like acoustic songs. Like I've always liked Creep from their first album, and Pretty Penny is probably like the equivalent of Creep. That was a really good one. Also, Meat Plow. It's
Oh
a
yeah,
very like a heavy, sludgy type of song. I think like I was also surprised listening to that the first time because like they can get like very heavy when they want to, like with this band. And on this album, like you were saying, that they do like the psychedelic stuff, they do some acoustic stuff, and then like they did some heavier stuff, like Vaseline and Meat Plow. Those were like the heavier songs. And then another one they have one called Lounge Fly. That was like one of the more like psychedelic ones. Like that one
Yeah.
starts, they usually like this backwards guitar riff, and then they have like this pretty cool acoustic interlude like right in the middle of the song. And that one's really good. It's like a very like different type of song. It's just a very like a psychedelic type of song. So I like
This
Lounge Fly. Yeah.
with the slide.
oh yeah,
Like he slides and twangs at the same time. He like Dean.
Yeah.
He's a genius in that song.
yeah. They should teach that to Trapped. That's how you that's how you do the slide guitar, not the way you do it in your crappy albums. So yeah, good picks, man. So for me, so obviously I love the singles, but I revisited this uh, because there's a song that I really love. The thing is that it follows Interstate Love Song. It's another love song, but I don't think it gets enough recognition because of Interstate Love Song. And I'm talking about the song "Still Remains." I thought it's great, even though when you read some of the lyrics, I'm like, if you take a bath, I'll drink the water that you leave. I'm like, ew. When I was young, I'm like, oh, that sounds romantic. And I'm like, that just sounds disgusting, man. I don't want to drink your stank ass water. But yeah, it's a beautiful song. And there's also a part in that song. It's like, if like, he implies like, if she dies, leave a friend. I'm like, it's a weird love song, but it's a great, I think Scott Weiland was a great lyricist and songwriter. And I think on this album, he really came more into his own as a songwriter. So I think that's a deep cut that I really enjoy. It's really good. Uh, I think Mid Plow is great. I love the lyrics too, where he says that I can feel when she kisses me sleeping, but not when the news is on. I've always thought there's like a great lyric, and it's a great album opener. Big Empty, I love it. I love because it's got like a country guitar song, but not country. And when it gets heavier, and I think Scott Weiland's like vocals are super good on this one. And I'm gonna mention another one that no one mentioned because it's about something. It's Unglued, and it was all about masturbation. And it was a great, those tracks could be corny, but the way Scott Weiland did it was good. I thought it was like a continuation to a sex type thing from the first record. And yeah, I even like the hidden track at the end. I'm not sure. I don't think it's Scott Weiland singing that track. I don't know.
No, it's someone else. I forgot who it was.
Yeah, I think they got, but it's super hilarious way to end the track. And if you see the album in the back, it says 12 gracious melodies.
Yeah, I have that too.
Yeah, so and I remember that's something we talked to this before in the channel. In the 90s, there were hidden tracks, and I feel bad for today's kids because they will never feel that joy of finding a hidden track. They will be like, why is it hidden? And it's funny because those albums sometimes on Spotify, they have the hidden track. Well, it's no longer hidden, but yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, so we pick tracks that we love. So Yogi, 30 years later, how do you think this has held up, and what do you think of this album today?
Well, I can stop playing. I cannot stop playing. So for me, it's been influential with the band, with bass playing and stuff. I mean, Robert DeLeo. I grew up listening to that band with other bands from the 90s. I mean, and I think that I call it a masterpiece. So it's an album that will never die. So if you still enjoy it, probably your kids will still enjoy it. Probably, it's endless.
Yeah, and it's got like that pop appeal. Like they're I remember something like they would be described as a pop rock band because they were popular, but they were alternative band. To me, they were lumped in the grunge thing, but I think they did different stuff. Like there was a lot of psychedelic that started with this album. So yeah, so for you, it's held up 30 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's gonna be. What about you, JC? Your thoughts on this one? 30 years.
Yeah, of course. It does hold up 30 years later. I think I would even say I might even like it better than Core, than the first album, because I think Core was good. It was straightforward. They kind of stayed in their lane a little more like straightforward, like heavy rock, grunge. But this one they kind of like started to experiment a little more. And there's like a lot of different like styles in there. Like I'm saying before, they can get heavy. They do the acoustic stuff, the psychedelic stuff, and the jazzy stuff. Just the bass playing is really great in this one. So I would even say it's probably better than Core, possibly their best. I would have to listen to all the albums again. There are a few I haven't listened to in a while, but I would say possibly like the best album.
Yeah. So for me, it's a masterpiece as well. I think it's my favorite Stone Temple Pilots record. I love Core, but I think this is their best. Tiny Music, yeah, I like it, but it's kind of very weird at times. And one that I think that I would like to revisit because it turns 25, I think, this year is number 4, which I think is kind of like an underrated album. Like number 4, a lot of people forget that album, and that would
I like that.
yeah. I would like to revisit number 4. So yeah, 30 years later, Stone Temple Pilots, Core, it has stood the test of time. It's a great album. It sounds great on vinyl too. If you can get it on vinyl, it sounds great. If not, it's an album that's timeless. I think this is the album that really made the band like stand out from other contemporary bands, and people were finally respecting the band and not calling them like a Pearl Jam knockoff, which I never understood. So yeah, so we want to know from you, Couchers, what do you think of Stone Temple Pilots, Purple, 30 years later? Comment what are your favorite tracks from the album and memories listening to this band, or if you saw Stone Temple Pilots, comment, let us know. I never saw Stone Temple Pilots, but I did see Scott Weiland performing at Ozfest with Velvet Revolver, and he did play a few Stone Temple Pilots songs, so I was so it was so awesome that I got to see him perform. He's such a great performer that tragically died too soon. So I want to thank my guest, Yogi. Yogi does not have a YouTube channel, but like the other time we had another friend of mine, Lorenzo. I just said so people comment, rate Yogi. What do you think of him? People be like, we do not like Yogi or something like that. No, like, and he'll be back for more, especially 90s stuff. He'll be back for more album anniversaries. For example, we're planning because Limp Bizkit's Significant Other this year turns 25, and we want to talk about that album. And obviously, JC Rock and Metal reviews. He does album reviews. He does retro reviews, and he's gonna have one on his channel for this album, and it's gonna be more history. He'll give you all the facts and data. So if you're watching this video and haven't watched, I'll post a link so you can watch JC's video as well and subscribe to his channel. So and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel. We have more interviews, more album reviews, and of course, more Is It That Bad? So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.